Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Lead Podcast, where our intention is to support the development of future hospitality industry leaders. I'm excited to jump into a conversation today that we've coined the human premium. And it's really how do we embrace technology to support our leaders, support our restaurants, and also support our performance. And obviously, this conversation is really active. We're all aware of it, we're all a part of it every day. But in today's conversation, we're going to make it real. Amy, before I introduce Ryan, great to see you. How was RLC?
Great to see you as well. RLC is awesome. It's like a class reunion. You get to see everybody and hang out and learn some things. And Troy Aikman was there, and I think every person around me was Googling if he was married. It was quite funny. But lots of learnings besides if Troy Aikman is married. But I am excited to have Ryan here and learn all the things, as well as see that bookshelf behind him. He puts all the books that he's fully read on that shelf. That's a good process. I think some other people should pick that up. But Ryan, tell us about yourself. Or Matt, who's Ryan?
Well, Ryan, I just want to introduce Ryan from Thrive. I'm going to let him do his own introduction, but why I'm excited about this conversation is Ryan and I connected before, and just the way that he shares his visibility and awareness of what he has access to and breaks it down into pieces where we can all act. In our first call, I took pages of notes and just thoughts that sparked interest for me. But Ryan, if you could just introduce yourself to the audience and let's just break open
Yeah.
this topic around the human premium.
Yeah, it'd be great. I can't wait. So good to be with you, Amy and Matt. Thanks for having me. My name's Ryan Bond. I'm the Chief People Officer at Thrive Restaurant Group. So Thrive is we're coming up on our 60th anniversary. It's a family-owned business. Some of the very earliest Pizza Hut days are where our founding was. And I've been with the organization for 15 years. And when I came in 15 years ago, there were about 1,500 people here. Today we have 8,000. And so over the last
Wow.
15 years, we've learned a lot about the value that people create in their work with each other, with guests, utilizing technology, utilizing their unique human skills to build something that creates opportunity for a lot of folks. So I'm a teacher at heart. That was my background in college. I majored in speech theater and debate. Thought I'd be a high school speech teacher. Um, Married to my high school sweetheart, have 3 daughters, 1 senior, and, yeah, life is fun and full, so
Love it. Love it. Well, I'm excited to jump into this conversation. I thought we'd really take the audience on a bit of a journey, tell a bit of a story. So, obviously, Thrive, very large group, 8,000 employees, and obviously is really looking at technology today and for the future. But if you want to just jump us into the conversation, how are you and the team at Thrive looking at technology, looking at AI through the lens of restaurant operations, or more, as we talked about prior to the call, prior to the podcast, supporting your people?
yeah, I think we're not dissimilar to a lot of groups and organizations in that we really have no idea how AI is going to transform the work that we do. We're trying to project out scenarios and say, "Hey, what about this? What could happen if this happened?" The if then, sort of scenarios. But I've been a part of a lot of workshops and I've attended a lot of talks and calls and meetings and conferences about AI. And quite frankly, I sit in those meetings sometimes and I'm like, do I really believe that this is going to be as disruptive and just pervasive in our lives as people say? And the more connection that I have with people that are doing the AI work, and even like being with companies like ADP, one of the largest data processors in the world, going to their conference and seeing just the things that they're rolling out, it just became evident to me. It's like, yeah, this is going to have a profound impact on the hospitality business in particular, but I think actually in a really positive way for leaders of people, to create value through that human leadership and leave some of the most soul sucking, competency draining activities to the technology. And I think it's going to be a great experiment in people making change themselves and refocusing on what are the things that as a leader I can add unique value to in my business, because the answer isn't going to be anymore writing the schedule or analyzing the numbers or crafting out the perfect pricing regimen or anything like that. It's going to be uniquely human. And so I'm excited to, explore this topic with you all because I'm learning right alongside everybody else. But what I see so far is I think this is going to be a really great opportunity for frontline leaders. So,
Ryan, if you're listening and you're an emerging leader, and
yep,
we do have a lot of leaders still in the industry that have not bought into AI, or managers that really have not touched it yet, to be honest, as crazy as that sounds. I think a lot of people are using Glock and ChatGPT. But
yep.
what is your, what are your thoughts on how people should think about it differently as a positive, or also to not get overwhelmed by it and just start digging in a little bit and understanding how it can support or help you become more productive in their roles?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one of the things that we're going to all have to do is figure out what's our posture towards this technology, right?
Mhm.
Are we going to be resistant or are we going to embrace it? And I think that comes in steps, right? There's the full embrace, the early adopters over here, and there's the never will over here. And I think a place to help people just start the first step, because that's really what all change is about, right? It's like, how do I take just the first step? I think the first one is like a mindset of this is a filter, not a funnel, right? And what I mean by that is that AI is going to have the ability to deliver more insights
Mhm.
and a velocity of noise and notifications that I don't think any of us are prepared for. And so, a great leader, an emerging leader, is going to create value by their ability to filter and decide which of this AI generated insight is worth my cognitive energy, my team's cognitive energy. Because look, AI is going to be able to tell you your labor's 4% high. Here's how you ought to write the schedule. Here's the way that people, but only a leader is going to be able to look at that and say, why? Why should we do it that way, and helping the team come along that, or identifying the human tensions inside the schedule. AI isn't going to know the human tensions, right? Who's working next to each other, when people are necessarily coming in and out, the friction that all creates. So there's human friction that only a leader is going to be able to tell a difference. The misuse of AI right now that I hear everybody talking about, from stages, is people putting stuff in, getting stuff out, copying and pasting, and just sending it on. They never read it.
And they don't
They do,
remove the lines.
they don't remove the little, yeah, the
And I'm
dash.
like, I know that we all know that's AI now. We can read it.
Yes, the vocabulary is amazing. I mean,
Words
we've
you've
had
never heard
some.
that person never used before.
Yeah.
It's wild. We've had some really interesting, like, what one of the things that one of my teams are responsible for, employee relations. And I'll tell you, the quality of the written communication in the employee relations world has gotten a lot better. And I got to tell you, I've been really impressed with the very prolific vocabularies that a lot of people have these days, and the words that they choose. So, but I think that's it, right? Like, AI is going to be the filter.
How
Only
are
the
you
human.
going about learning about all this though, Ryan and Matt? Like, there's so much on AI. It can be very overwhelming very quick. I mean, I just was talking to some boards, and they're just like, who's using AI, who's not, how are you guys using it? And some use it for data, to your point, some use it to write. But then there's also a lot of AI technology that people are innovating. And so there's just so much noise. You could spend hours trying to figure it all out. So Matt, I'd love to hear from you, and Ryan. Like, how are you honing in on what is the most important when it comes to AI? Because it is an overwhelming world right now with it.
Yeah,
Matt, what are you doing?
yeah, I get these calls a lot. So, and I think there's a talk that we used to do as a part of the segments was avoiding sexy tech, where it's sold as this beautiful idea, but how do we execute and implement? And I think from my lens, what Ryan shared earlier is we're not in control of what's being built by the larger AI providers, like what's coming. They're developing things today that we're going to see in a year or 36 months that we need to be prepared to embrace. But I think really looking at when it comes to implementing technology is making sure we're clear on what problem it's solving. Like, why are we embracing it? Not what it is, but what problem is it solving inside the business, and what's the real need, and just slowing down there and making sure. And I get calls every week: should we build? Should we develop? And usually, I was at a really great conference a few months ago, and the answer is usually, unless you're big enough, no. But how do we optimize what we have? But I think sometimes it becomes about the technology and its own and itself, and it doesn't come about what
Mhm.
that technology going to talk to and who's going to work with it to get the intention and result that we want. So sorry, that's a bit of a rant, but my side is just to slow down and look at why. And Ryan shared, I think what I love to hear from Ryan is, the profile of a manager, what makes a successful manager might be changing. We can we're a human to human business. We can go and interact with guests. We can interact with our people. We don't have to struggle with the schedule for 4 hours. We don't have to analyze our food costs soon. It can help us with that predictive analytics. It's just, how do we really put that human touch on it? And I think if we lose that at the start, where technology is going to do better, I think we have to look at how is technology going to do with for our future and our industry
Mhm.
segments like retail. Ryan, what are your thoughts? Sorry for the rant there, but I'm passionate about
No,
its attention.
no, and I think Amy, I think your question was how are we even learning about
Mhm.
what's
If you're an
coming up?
emerging leader and you're listening, like, how do you get into it? How do you learn? And how do you block out all the noise from it? So much.
Yeah. I've been using AI.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Tell 'em about it. And
It's a good start.
making very risky clicks on the random email that I'll get of somebody doing a webinar, that they want you to join that you've never met them before. But honestly, LinkedIn is a great source. There's a lot of content, people just talking about this. Look, I haven't encountered anybody that knows what's going to happen or how it's going to happen. I think right now we're in this really weird, explorative like moment. We've
Yeah.
seen the disruption that AI is creating in coding. That was designed like that. They set out to make AI the best coder in the world. They have not done that for accounting yet. They have not developed it for human resources yet. They've not really even developed it into some of the scheduling stuff that I'm talking about. But that is coming, and you can see the path. And now that they've got it as the world's best developer, it's going to start turning its attention to.
I think there
And
is
not
some
even how I talk about it. I'm
financials
talking
in
about as
there.
an it. Is that even how we
Yeah.
talk about this? Is an it?
Yeah.
Um, but so I think
It's a she.
it's just
Thanks, Amy. Yeah.
stepping into her power.
I do want to
Yes.
take 2 steps back
Yes.
because there's a lot of listeners right now that do not have a LinkedIn account and they do not know what LinkedIn is. A lot of our users are on YouTube and other platforms and using Instagram and
Oh,
all the things. But if you're listening, you do not have a LinkedIn account, Matt, we should send something out on how to build that.
Yep.
But it is just like an old school. A lot of the people listening do not even have Facebook right now, but it is something you want to have for your business profile and to help build connections in the industry that you're in. So if you don't have one, get on LinkedIn and then ask Ryan Bond to be a friend of yours.
I would
But you
love it.
can learn. There's LinkedIn Learnings. There's all these really cool things and programs you can build as well as connecting onto LinkedIn. So that's a great program. I'm glad you brought that up.
And
Yeah,
one thing I'll decide, if
that's
you're
great.
looking to learn on AI, there's a bunch of information out there, but I consume just like Ryan does and try to attend the webinars. And I don't plug people often, but Dan Martell is somebody who I would follow. Dan is a force in the thought leadership space. He has built tech for decades, and he is out there
Mm.
educating everybody from high school kids up to the Fortune 100 companies that he coaches directly. Oh, and it's something with, bring Ryan back in. Sorry about that.
We're testing AI during this session. We're
That's
seeing
it.
if when we ask AI or ET phone home if Ryan will come back in, and he showed back up.
He
It
did that.
worked.
I know it's in the center of the room.
Can you hear me now? Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Um, but if you're looking to educate, because I think like Ryan, there's so much noise and you try to consume, and really what I just would
Yeah.
get back to, what's the problem you're trying to solve through AI so you can focus your search and who's best for you. But Dan's talking, there's lots of people follow Dan, you'll get other great access. But let's bring it back into
Yep.
the restaurant. Ryan, I'd like you to
Yep.
talk about what are some things that you would recommend a leader look at today. So you're looking big picture on what's coming, but there's lots of leaders inside your restaurant. Say, how are you talking to them and supporting them in embracing AI today?
Yeah. So The reason that I, started by saying I'm excited for this emerging era that we really don't know what's going to be like is because I very clearly see that a lot of things that we've been talking about at Thrive Restaurant Group for the last 15 years about how you show up in your work as a leader is more important than the actual work you do. Look, we're not building rockets, we're not sending people to space here. We are we are inviting people into a workplace, teaching them skills, trying to create an experience for people to eat and connect with the people that they showed up with. It is a very human leadership job. But if you I have been in situations, even at Thrive and in the industry, when you say, "Hey, is this person ready for a management role?" And the answer is very quickly, "No. Oh no." Well, why? Because they don't know the admin stuff. And I've seen more careers and more emerging leaders get frustrated because they don't know the 7 technologies, that we use to conduct the back end of the business when maybe they're not the best you know line cook or server or whatever, but they have the ability to connect with people. They're persistently curious about others. And you're like, well, that is what adds value in a human leadership role. And that often gets outweighed by the administrative pieces. And so what I'm excited for in this industry is that people with those skill sets, and they are skill sets that you can acquire, that you can build, that are able to see the potential in others, not diminish, not make people feel small or unseen, but like to really see people. I think this is going to be a time where they are able to shine because the technology is going to lower the barrier to those real skills that keep people connected. Look, if AI can do some of the work, why will people stay? It's for the
Mhm.
human connection. It's why they're staying today in our restaurants and in our hotels, and that's why they're here is human connection. And they want to be with leaders that are going to help them be their natural best selves. So when the leader's not distracted by the administrivia of the job and are able to spend time figuring out how to coach skills, which we want them all to do now, right? But there's always hurdles to that, right? Things that get in the way. When we wanted to be able to show up and have that moment of, hey, I know you're going through a rough time. How can I help you? It's this um, y- I just think the human leadership piece is going to be elevated as the differentiator as opposed to being really good at an expense report.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm super
Hospitality.
excited for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
agree.
Yes. Unfiltered in some ways.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I don't know if that answers your question specifically enough, but I think the type of people that we're going to be looking for are the type of people that we want now, but that sometimes get overshadowed because of what we think are the technical aspects of a job.
And I love the answer because it's looking at a leader today. And I really hope everybody watching hears what was just shared there. So it's about, are we embracing technology and AI, or are we embracing the true foundation of our roles, which is interacting
Yeah.
with us and our people? So as a leader, as Ryan said, if you want to understand AI, use it. Download what you can, get free versions, get used to
Yeah.
some, not all of them, but there's some great solutions out there. And we can share some. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to share a list of things that you can try for free so you're embracing it. But more importantly, how are you stepping into the human side of the business, which is what we can own and be responsible for and drive moving forward? So, how do you see leaders showing up differently now that if they could find more time? How do they show up differently to support their people? Because you shared a little bit about that we have more time for coaching, we have more time for understanding our people's feelings, wants, and needs. Let's shift from the AI side, but what does a great leader look like to you inside your restaurants today? How are they creating human connection?
Mhm.
You know, I, I I think we've talked a little bit about posture, right? How do we posture ourselves towards AI? I think our posture towards people is one of the first things that we'll have the ability to shape. And so this is some teaching that we have at Thrive, like for our leaders and managers. But it's the whole idea of, do you see people as potential or as a risk to mitigate? Right. So do I look at you and say, Matt, like, really,
He's a
like I need
risk.
to. Well, that's
Thanks,
fair.
Louis. Thanks.
Okay, and then I would look at Amy and say, "Wow, look at all that potential there." Just a so much to work with, so much
So much to
possibility.
work with.
But I think
We're being silly,
but
sorry.
I think that's what it like I think that's one of the things for our leaders is you have to have patience in order to seek potential in other people. And I don't remember, I'm going to quote this. I don't know who said it, but it's not my idea. Patience is, I have patience when I am focused on others. I am impatient when I am focused on myself. And I
Mhm.
think today, the environment where a lot of emerging leaders are growing up is so urgent. It is so chaotic. It is so unpredictable that it is really difficult not to focus on the things that I have to be responsible for and to be patient enough to focus on other people. So I am hopeful that again, there will be more capacity and more space for this when the burden of hitting the administrative deadlines is not as significant in the future as it is today. And that our leaders, which we know makes a difference today, will be able to show up with a posture of, I see potential in you to develop, not, I just need you to show up for your shift. I need you to get your work done. I need you to make sure you don't screw up anything. That's what I'm here for. Anything above and beyond that stresses me out because I don't have time. I'm hoping that time is what we get and that that has an impact on our ability to be patient and to be able to see deeply what the potential of a person is and how to then help them develop that potential. So that's one area that I see. Did that begin to answer your question or?
It does, and it's just what my hope is through the discussion is just to change the mindset of how do we become experts in AI? How do we understand and embrace what our roles? And that might look different for your restaurant group. Like not every restaurant group, but there's going to
Yeah.
be people focused. It might be transaction if it's speed. It might be, in a different setting. But if we can find time to do what we do best, and if you can step into that opportunity, I don't think we're becoming masters of AI, but it's becoming masters of ourselves inside our restaurants. And I was at a franchise conference recently. We led roundtables with 800 leaders from the top QSR brands, and they all came through. And I was shocked. These are the biggest brands in North America. And everybody said, well, AI is going to find us time. So I challenged and said, well, what are you going to do with the time? And people said, well, what do you
Right.
mean? What do you mean? Well, we just need to find more time. Everyone's too busy. I said, I got it. But what are we going to do with that time? So that to the audience that's watching you, whether you're a senior leader or not, is if we found 2 hours a week, what would the return on time be if we refocus that into employee feedback or guest interaction? We have to be intentional with the time or it'll evaporate. But
Yes.
if it can find us some time, but let's be clear as to what we do with that. And then what I say, how do you find like let's give some tactical steps,
Okay.
to the leader as we close out. And Amy, I'd love your feedback because I know your group is some of the people on your team are embracing AI as well. What are one of your recommendations? Let's talk directly to the leaders. What are functional steps that they could do today? Ryan, you said you're using AI. What's one thing you'd recommend to an emerging leader right now to go out and do this week just to get some exposure to?
Well, first, get on the platforms. Get a Gemini account, get a Claude account, get a Chat GPT account. I only say those because those are the ones that I play in. I think there's others, but go out there and start interacting with it. Um, think about a business problem, that you have in your world. So, what is a problem that you are trying to solve right now? And go and plug that into one of those engines and start interacting with it, not to give you the answer, but to help you refine your thinking. So I think that's the thing that gets missed is like when you put in a prompt or you start doing that work, it's like it's not to give you the answer, it's to help you come up with the answer. So how does it broaden your thinking? How does it deepen your thinking? That's what AI is really, really good at. So interact with it like that. Ask it to help you make a communication that you're getting ready to give more easily understandable so that somebody could very quickly grasp the 3 to 5 words that they really need to walk away with that they can keep thinking about while they're on their shift or as they're thinking about making a decision. Like use it to help make what you do better because
Mhm.
that really is what it's good at. Communication. It's really good at helping you think through a problem. I started playing around with making a little LMS the other day. I spent an hour with it. I've got a whole website. I've got permissions. I've got administrative functions. It really is unbelievable what you can do, and you have to have no coding background at all. So I think right now for most people, it's just engage with the tools, get familiar with what they can do, and then think about a problem that you're working on and engage with it around that. That's where I think people can start finding some value.
Love it. Amy, is there anything your team's doing or you're doing personally that's really supporting embracing technology and AI?
Well, I'm on a couple advisory councils, and that's an AI world of itself. We're looking at when the drink gets lower, can the cameras pick it up and just ping for another drink? We're looking at we were at MureTech at the technology restaurant conference, and that advisory council I sit on, they're working on things that are super cool, like host seating. Do you really need to have a host to tell you that the table's clean? There's just so many cool things that people are bringing to the table. Internally, yes, it's all the things that Ryan's talking about, whether it's building modules or just putting out a company email and not having any I can't even say it, errors, grammatical errors. But as we're building it, I do want to tell people, like, you cannot break it.
No.
I do want to preface that myself and others on the HR side of things are putting in AI policies now. So the world is starting to adapt a little bit where you cannot put in company financials and things like that. So I do want to put that out there for those. Like, you can't download your P&L in there if you've signed something for your company, and you kind of don't want to because AI is building all this knowledge. And so you can ask it how companies doing, and a lot of these companies have put their stuff in there. So there's things to learn, and there's things that I think people are growing, and also boundaries that are starting to happen. At the end of the day, though, play around with it. I mean, I sat on the phone with Mike Axiotis, he's the president of the NRA, and we were just talking about how we invest into things, not condos in Canada, but how you invest in certain things. And he goes, "You know what we did? We sat there and I downloaded a copy of my investments, and I asked it what to do. And it told me I was too heavy in others and to move things around. I moved things around. It's been to the benefit. I'm not saying that always works. So far it's worked. The market's been a little nutty. But I do think, like, play around with it. You cannot break it, and you
Yeah.
can only learn. So there's only a positive upside with it. And so really take some time and do go to classes. I sat and mentored somebody this past weekend, and they said, I'm in marketing. A lot of the marketing folks, they're looking, right? They're trying to build things differently. And so she's young in her role. And I said, have you taken a marketing class on AI? Because for you to play in the game now, that's the ante. So you got to kind of look at what your position is in a company, how you would use AI, but also know you can't break it, and use it and learn how to use it a little bit more personally than sometimes. I have a girl who uses it for therapy, but that's another conversation. So there's just like, because it will give you,
He's
I
not
mean,
alone.
Yeah.
there's a lot of people using it like that. So I just think it's wild. Nobody thought we would be here. Nobody thought we'd be, having Waymos running around Nashville. And one of the drivers yesterday goes, "I don't think there was somebody in that car." I go, "No, no, no, those are the cars running around now without the drivers." But you see all these teenagers downtown Nashville in these, and it's
Yeah.
just it's just this wild world that's happening. So you do have to adapt, you do have to adopt, and not be scared of it, but you do need to educate yourself and get involved.
Yeah. We're just at the beginning.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
So one thing I love about this conversation as we come to a close is we can see we're all learning and embracing as well. So the conversation's flowing in different directions as we consider how to implement it. It's happening behind the scenes, and it's happening for industries bigger than hospitality, but it's coming to us. There's a way. What I love what Ryan shared is it's not the answer. If we start to depend on it in the answer, we can
To
need help
help.
and become dependent. One of
Yeah.
my favorite questions is how do we stay curious a little bit longer? How do we stay
Yeah.
curious how to embrace it? How do we stay curious to the response? How do we stay curious to where we find time? Ryan also shared is what's a problem that you're trying to solve? And the last thing, last piece of response, and this is moving quickly. So every month I feel like I have to relearn, but how do we properly learn to prompt and talk to AI so we can get the best response and it can learn us and our voice and our language? But our hope is let's embrace AI so it can support and find time so we can do what we do best, which is hospitality and
Yeah.
invest time with our people and our guests. Ryan and Amy, I wanted to thank you for a
Thanks
remarkable.
for coming on, Ryan.
Oh, it's so great to be with you too. Well, you need to do this again in 6 months and see just
Yeah.
where things are at then, because I have a feeling
Shoot, in
it's gonna.
20 days. Good Lord, it's so
That's
fast.
fair.
That was that franchise conference I went to. It was 6 months apart, so we did 6 months, and by the time we got to the second half conference, what they talked about was in place. Vision, as Amy talked about, is in place.
Yeah.
Optimizations in place. So what was ideas was in our pockets or being utilized. It's happening. Embrace it. Stay curious. But we are hospitality. We will continue to be
Yep.
hospitality. And we're grateful to have a human-to-human connection business. Thank you to both of you. And anybody, please do ask questions when we post this on LinkedIn. If you want some feedback, if I don't have the answers, Ryan or Amy doesn't, we'll find you a source that does. And thanks again for another great episode of the Lead Podcast.
Thank you all.